Before we continue, we'll take a brief recap of yesterday. What did we discuss yesterday? The first thing we spoke of was the difference between Sanatana Dharma, eternal principles of life which do not change generation to generation, and Yuga Dharma, which are social norms which must necessarily change because the world changes and you have to have the capacity to change with the times without letting go of your principles of life. And to do this, you need to have the wisdom to know the difference, what never to let go of and what to always change. Then we spoke of how to change our attitude towards perception and action, and then how to get to the state of actionlessness, Naishkarmya Siddhi. Then we took a look at the 15 practices that help us to go from the limited, finite, dependent individual that we are to the infinite state of perfection that we are heir to. And in order to do that, we need a blend of the mind and intellect, a blend of intensity of devotion. As you just heard in the bhajan that went, Rama Nama Rasa Pije Manava. That is devotion. And intellect, intellectual focus. So, when you have a blend of the mind and the intellect, you become Brahma Bhuta. You move from being an individualized person to the totality, Brahma Bhuta. So, now we'll continue with emotion. Emotion, most of us deal with what we call as my needs. All of us go out into the world and say, I want people to love me. I want people to care for me. I want people to take me into consideration. Never does it occur to us that we are doing nothing for others. And as long as you are demanding emotions from the world, you're begging at the doors of the world for emotional supplements, you will never get it. You will become a despicable character. People will hate you. People will move away from you. From this, we need to move to offering our emotions for the welfare of others. Offering our resources, our personality, whatever it is that I have to give, let me give for the welfare of others. Start with your family members. How many of us genuinely take into consideration our family members and their emotional needs? We even treat our children as extensions of ourselves, only to fulfill our ambitions through the children. We do not consider the fact that the children are individual personalities. They have their own aspirations in life, and as parents or as adults, our business is to respect them and to provide whatever they need in order to get to what they want to achieve. It's not about what we want them to be. It's about what they want to be. In our interactions with people, we have expectations of them. We make demands on them. And we have a set mental pattern and we expect the whole world to fit into my mental pattern. That's never going to happen. What you have to do is to understand that nature functions. That's what he's talking about throughout the Gita, starting with the 3rd chapter, ending with the 18th chapter. He's hammering this truth in, which is to understand that a cobra will be a cobra. The nature of a cobra is that it must hiss. So when you are interacting with a cobra, you must understand, assess, and expect the cobra to hiss. If you expect the cobra to meow like a kitten, it is not the cobra's fault. Whose fault is it? Yours. When you go for a walk and the neighbor's dog barks at you, do you get upset? I hope not. Do you turn around and say, you know who I am? I'm the chairman of such and such a company. You don't do that. Because your understanding is perfect that the nature of a dog is that it must bark. And in fact, you admire the dog for its barking. That is what the dog is there for. Only these mad Americans don't understand this. You know what they do? Recently it came in the papers that a person had a huge dog and his neighbor complained that the dog was barking all the time. So what does this man do? He takes the dog to a veterinary surgeon, a perfectly healthy dog, and gets its vocal cords cut. And that poor dog comes back and it can't even bark. This is what we are doing with human beings. Please understand that. Doing it to a dog is bad enough, but doing it to human beings. So, similarly, just as in animals you have a perfect understanding of people's nature, and so you don't get upset. When it comes to human beings, this wisdom seems to desert us. So when you go out to work, if your boss barks at you, you get upset, right? Yes or no? What happens to that wisdom? You must simply understand, my boss must have been a dog in his last life. Therefore he is barking. And when he barks, admire his bark. That's all that you can do. But you expect a person with a dog-like character to be gentle and mild. And then there are people who are gentle like deer. You expect them, you go to them and say, hey, are you a man or a mouse? Stand up, fight. He can't, he's a mouse. This is the understanding. That is how you offer your emotions to others, where you accept, first of all, assess people for what they are. Understand they cannot change. Like they say, a tiger can't change its stripes. Accept them for what they are. Then their faults cease to irritate you, they only serve to amuse you. Try it. Go home today and try it with your own family members. There are some people in our, I'm sure all of you have, so one member of the family is highly stressed out, highly irritable. You go home and say, why are you doing this? Don't do this. When that happens first thing in the morning, you react, he reacts, everybody reacts, and there is a battle royale first thing in the morning. Instead, you just understand, when you wake up, expect that these are things that are going to happen. And when they happen, you tell yourself, oh great, I'm at home. I'm not in the neighbor's house. I'm in my own home. It's so familiar territory. Enjoy it. Be amused by it. And then your life changes. Your life transforms. Like they say, vichar badla, nasib badle. So, the last thing is, offer your emotions to God. When you offer your emotions to God, what do we mean? Take a look at whatever it is that you're doing and understand that you are able to do what you're doing because of the contribution of hundreds and thousands and perhaps millions of people who have contributed to your welfare. For instance, if it had not been for the ENT surgeon that I went to after the first day's lecture here, when I couldn't speak, I was coughing, we would have had to cancel these lectures. So the credit for these lectures, does it go to me or to the ENT surgeon? The fact that we are sitting here together means someone has built this hall, someone is maintaining the hall, someone is providing the sound rightly or wrongly. We need to be grateful. And as you expand your awareness of all that you have been blessed with, ultimately you come to the understanding that there is some divine power that has taken care of every need of yours right from the time you were born till this moment. And when you're full of this awareness, you are automatically grateful to that providence that has blessed you with millions and millions of things. This is offering your emotion to God. And they say that this devotion is a combination. Devotion to God is a combination of 5 bhavas. The 5 bhavas are, first, sakhya bhava. You approach God as a friend. Why? Because He is Surudam Sarva Bhutanam. He is a friend to all beings. Like Sudama had this wonderful relationship with Krishna. He was a friend. He adored him. They played together. They did mischief together. They were up to all kinds of pranks together. And that relationship continued right till the last day of their lives. Second, a tender feeling, vatsalya bhava, that the mother has for the child. Yashoda, to her, Krishna was a whole world. And the wonderful stories that you hear of Yashoda and Krishna add to this. Vatsalya bhava. Third, dasya bhava, servant. And you can't think of a better person than Hanuman. Hanuman was a monkey. A monkey represents the mind. The mind goes in a million different directions. The monkey and the mind share 2 characteristics. One, asthira, unsteady, constantly flitting from place to place. Second, chanchala. Even in a given position, restless, it's constantly oscillating. This asthira and chanchala Hanuman became absolutely steady the moment he met Ram. And this is that dasya bhava. You must have this attitude towards God that, oh God, you have given me so much. The whole of my life, all I want to do is serve you. Dasya bhava. Fourth, madhurya bhava. Madhurya bhava is the feelings that the gopis had towards Krishna. Romantic. That's why they say, you must fall in love to understand what devotion to God is. You're not inspired. I don't mean at this age, please. You must have experienced it to know what that feeling is towards God. And the last is shanta bhava. The feeling that the rishis and the munis have, people who are spiritually evolved. The minds are completely, totally at rest. Devotion to God is a combination of all these 5 bhavas. So as you go along, you must make an effort to move from just demanding emotions from people to understanding and accepting people for what they are and loving them in spite of their negativities. Because you say, I don't know what you've gone through. I don't know what is disturbing you. I don't know what is traumatizing you. But whatever it is, I accept you for what you are. What power you get over that person. Instead of saying, you are like this, you are like that, it's so easy to point faults. It needs an act of courage to withhold that and accept people for what they are. Then comes intellect. Our intellect is distorted because of too many desires in the mind. There's no clarity. It's complete confusion. Fog index in the mind is very high. You know, when there's fog in Delhi in winter, planes can't take off, trains can't move, even cars have accidents. What do you think happens to you when your fog index is high in the mind? You don't know which way you're going, you don't know what is right, what is wrong, so on and so forth. More importantly, when you have a desire for a particular thing, it distorts the thinking of the intellect. There's a beautiful poem called The Pond, which is taught to school children. It speaks of a little chicken who goes along a pond and sees the duck swimming in the pond and is attracted to it. So the chicken says, I'm really remarkably fond of the water. That's it. She remembers her mother telling her, whatever you do, dear, don't enter the water because it's dangerous, you'll drown. But now because the chicken wants to go into the water, it reasons but it reasons wrongly. The intellect thinks, but the thinking of the intellect is limited by what the mind wants. So the intellect cannot think beyond the parameters of I am remarkably fond of the water. So what does the chicken conclude? The chicken says, just because my beak is pointed and their beaks are round, is that any reason that I should be drowned? What is the answer to that? No. So in the chicken goes. Where has the chicken made a mistake? The reason why the duck can swim and the chicken can't is webbed feet of the duck. The chicken can't see it, and it makes a fatal mistake. It enters the water and drowns. Before long, it's floating dead on its back. From this simple poem, you and I learn a profound philosophy, which is whenever the mind has a particular desire and you say, I like it, I'm fond of it, I want it, I love it, right there you should see the red signal. The red signal is, watch out, because your intellect is being held hostage. The reasoning of the intellect will be faulty. So wherever you have a desire, you reason, but you reason for all the wrong reasons. And you enter the water, and before long, you drown. It's too late to extricate yourself. Therefore, you need a powerful intellect. This intellect of yours needs to be developed, nurtured, nourished, strengthened, so that it gets this clarity. Now the next step is, you might get clarity in one or two fields. Like a doctor has absolute clarity in his field. A lawyer has clarity in his field, so on and so forth. But general clarity we don't have because we have a very myopic view of things. And that myopic view of things is just me, my interests in life. As they say in corporate circles, you're as good as your last quarter. That's it. It doesn't matter what else is happening. And that's a very short-sighted policy to have. The next, the real successful person, what they call as Duradarshi, visionary, is one who has absolute clarity of thinking because he has worked out the consequences of his actions, his attitudes, his thoughts, his emotions. He has a clear goal set before himself, and that's how things work out for him. So you need to develop your intellect from this distorted vision of life through a myopic, short-sighted view to absolute clarity. And this absolute clarity leads you to understanding the distinction between that which is permanent and that which is impermanent in life. The world and all that the world has to offer to you is fleeting, passing, temporary. Remember we said on the first day, Nateshu ramate buddhaha. The wise don't indulge in them, don't engage in them. And then comes the seeking for the permanent. Next comes conscience. We all have a conscience. Every single human being across the world has a conscience. But the problem is, the conscience is dull because it has not been used, it has never been consulted, and it is clouded by desires. So when your desire is strong, just set aside the conscience and just do what you want. And that's how you get into trouble. Is it right? Is never asked. Is it convenient? Is it profitable for me? That is what you go by. And then in the end, when you violate your conscience will not let you be in peace. When Macbeth, in Shakespeare's play Macbeth, when he killed King Duncan, because he wanted to be king, he doesn't say, I've killed Duncan, he says, I've murdered sleep, because he's unable to sleep thereafter. So, watch out for this violation of your conscience. The next step, slightly better, is a conscience that is inactive. It tells you what is the right thing to do, but a very still small voice which can easily be overthrown. And the last stage is where you have such a sharp focus that the conscience will not let you do things which it considers wrong. So therefore, how do you develop this conscience? Just be true to yourself. At every juncture in life, ask yourself, is this right for me to do? And go by that. So with this, we conclude the whole thing. We started yesterday with senses, mind, intellect, conscience. If you fine-tune all these, if you change your